Have you ever made a sacrifice? I'll talk about that in just a minute. You know, the Bible and world history is filled with sacrifices. And a lot of times we think of a sacrifice as something more in the modern sense, like, I'm going to sacrifice my time. And that's really what I'm talking about today. But remember, back in the ancient days, some people were sacrificed to gods. It was a bloody affair. We even have stories in the Bible of sacrificing animals to atone for sin. And then, of course, we have the best story of all, that Jesus came and was a sacrifice for all of us. Sacrifices must be important because they're all over history and they're all over Scripture. Do we sacrifice? Well, not so much in the same sense, not in the way that we might think of it in those grisly terms. But the sacrifices that I'm talking about today are the ones that we make for other people. Do you sacrifice for others? Analyze your life and think about that. Do you give the last slice of pizza to somebody else? Do you give your money to somebody who needs it? Maybe you make a sacrifice of your own time to help a family member. Maybe it's your brother-in-law who needs to move. Maybe it's your mom who needs her gutters cleaned out. Or the little old lady down the street that just needs her yard mowed, and maybe you barely know her. The thing is, do we make sacrifices for other people? You know, very rarely do we make a sacrifice that's for ourselves. Now, we might sacrifice some of our money to buy something we want, but is that really a sacrifice? We might sacrifice time in order to do something we want, but is that really a sacrifice? I don't think so. You know, King David, when he wanted to build something for the Lord, he was offered what he wanted for free. But he said, no, I'm going to pay you a fair price. How could I let this happen and it not cost me anything? There's a cost to things, folks. A cost that's important for us to understand when we make a sacrifice for someone else. It's something that we have to look at and not do out of arrogance or obligation, but do because we know it's the right thing to do. Sometimes when someone asks you to do something, you know, Jesus says, if someone asks you to go a mile with him, go with him too. Sometimes that's hard. Sometimes you don't feel like it. But it's almost always the right thing to do. Hey, have a great weekend. Be kind to each other, and I'll see you next week.